All right, fifth grade properties of matter notebook. Here's our table of contents. Matter. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. So, for example, your desk, the air, water, humans, everything on Earth is made up of matter. Physical properties. Here are the physical properties of matter. You can classify matter based on its physical properties. Matter can be observed, measured, and tested. Here we have mass, temperature, relative density, conductivity, size, states of matter, texture, color, magnetism, flexibility, solubility, shape, and volume. Measurement. Here are the different properties of matter. We have length, width, height. These we would use a metric ruler. And here are the units of measurement: kilometer, meter, centimeter, millimeter. Next one is solid volume. We find this by taking the length, multiply it by the width, and multiply it by the height. We can use a metric ruler, and our unit of measurement is the cubic centimeters. Then we have liquid volume. We would use a graduated cylinder or beaker. Our units of measurement would be liter or milliliter. Volume of small irregular object, we would use a graduated cylinder. The difference between ml of water before and after an object is placed in the cylinder, this is known as water displacement. Mass, we would use a pan balance or a triple beam balance. We would measure that in grams or kilograms. And then if we want to check for weight, we could use a spring scale, which is measured in newtons. Mass versus weight. Mass is the amount of matter in an object. In a science lab, mass is measured in milligrams, grams, or kilograms. Here's a pan balance and a triple beam balance. An astronaut on the Earth and the same astronaut on the Moon has the same mass because the amount of stuff inside the astronaut hasn't changed. How do I use a triple beam balance? You can click the video to play. Mass versus weight. Weight is the measure of the pull of gravity on an object. We measure weight on a scale: bathroom scale, kitchen scales, a spring scale. Physical state. The classification of matter as a solid, liquid, or gas. Solid has a definite shape and a definite volume, and the atoms are tightly packed and vibrating. Liquids have no definite shape. They take on the shape of the container. They do have a definite volume, and the molecules are not as tightly packed, and they slide over each other. Gas has no definite shape. It takes the shape of its container. It has no definite volume, and the molecules are very far apart and rarely touch each other, so they are fast moving. Volume is the measure of the amount of matter an object takes up. So here we would take, to get the volume, we would take the length, 7 centimeters, multiply it by the width, 2 centimeters, and multiply that by the height, 3 centimeters. So 7 times 2 times 3 is 42. And then it says students often confuse the metric side of a ruler with the inch side of a ruler. So here you have 1 centimeter, or this is the same as 10 millimeters. And then here you have half an inch or 3/4 an inch. Notice that the millimeter marks are much closer than the marks of the inch marks. Volume. To find the volume of an irregular object, first you're going to measure the initial volume of water in your cylinder. Then you're going to submerge your irregular object. Then you're going to measure the final volume of the water. So here we started off at 50 milliliters. We added in the object, and now we're at 60. So the difference between the initial volume and the final volume is the volume of the object. So for here, we had 60 minus 50 gives us our 10 milliliters. So the volume is 10 milliliters. Let's practice. Go ahead and look right here at the bottom of this curved line, the meniscus. So here you're going to put your beginning volume. Then you're going, so here's the beginning. Then we submerge our object, and now we're here. So that would be the end volume. Then you subtract those and get your answer. And then here is another practice for you on the bottom. You can watch the video for more video help. Right. Relative density. Which is heaviest? 1 kilogram of gold or 1 kilogram of feathers? 1 kilogram of feathers is just as heavy as 1 kilogram of gold because they both weigh 1 kilogram. Now think about how big a 1 kilogram bag of feathers would be. Compare it to the size of 1 kilogram of gold. The 1 kilogram bag of feathers would be much bigger than the gold. This is because the density of the gold is higher than that of the feathers. If you had two boxes, both the same size, and you filled one with gold and one with feathers, which box would be the heaviest? Answer: the box filled with the gold, of course, because the feathers aren't as dense as the gold. The same volume of feathers would be much lighter. Relative density. The measure of how compact the mass in a substance or object is. If an object sinks, the object is more dense than the water. But if the object floats, the object is less dense than the water. So here we have three things that have sank to the bottom. So if those are sinking to the bottom, we can say that they're more dense. And these four objects that are floating on top would be less dense than the water. Here's a video. Solubility is the measurement of the ability of a solid to dissolve in a liquid. Solubility is the ability of a substance, which is called the solute, to mix into a liquid, which is the solvent. Solubility is the ability of a substance to mix into the liquid. So here are some things that we could take and we could mix into a liquid and they would dissolve. And then here's some things like this is salt and sugar, cocoa powder. Those, if I mix them, they would start to dissolve. And then these, pepper and sand, I can keep mixing and mixing, and they're just going to settle either to the bottom or they might float. They're not gonna dissolve. Conductors and insulators. Conductors are material that allows heat or an electric current to flow through easily, such as gold, aluminum, silver, and copper. Insulators are materials through which heat or electricity does not flow easily, such as air, plastic, glass, rubber, and wood. Magnetism. Magnetism is a physical property of some metals, such as iron. A magnet may attract or pull objects made of those metals toward it and may even pick up some of them. Not all metals are magnetic. There is an invisible area around a magnet that can attract certain things. It's called the magnetic field. So here you can see here's your north and south pole, and these lines are showing where that field is. Magnets can be big, like here, or small, like in a card, like a debit card or a credit card. Magnetism, a physical property of some metals such as iron. All right, here you have some things that are not attracted to a magnet. So paper, your spoon, this is made of wood. plastic. So these are not. Not all metals are magnetic. Aluminum, like the aluminum foil here, copper, tin, and gold, like here, are not attracted to magnets. So just because it's metal doesn't mean that it's going to be magnetic. A physical property of some metals, such as iron, again, magnetism. So here is what that would look like with the magnetic field. The word attract means that it's going to pull towards one another, and repel is when it pushes away. So some metals are strongly magnetic, such as iron, cobalt, and nickel. Mixtures. Mixtures are formed when materials physically combined can be separated. So rocks and sand, sand and water, trail mix, salad, gravel and sand, metal and plastic paper clips, all of these things can be separated. So here's how we would separate a mixture. We could use a sieve to separate the gravel and sand. We could use a spoon to separate the milk from the cereal. We could use a filter to separate sand from water. And we could use a magnet to separate the marbles and nails. You could use tweezers or your fingers to separate trail mix. Solutions. Solutions are a type of mixture. A liquid mixture where a substance is mixed evenly throughout another substance. So to mix means that we're going to combine it together. Separate means to divide or keep apart. And dissolve means that it's going to spread out evenly in a liquid. So here are some things that are examples of solutions. You've got lemonade, hot chocolate. These things have different ingredients that we combine or mix together. And they are, when you mix them up, let's say that I use this powder, it's going to spread out evenly and it's going to evenly distribute in that liquid and dissolve. And the solution, if you notice, it looks like one thing. It doesn't look like a bunch of, it's not like trail mix where you can see all the individual parts. All right, here are some of the definitions that we've talked about. Physical properties. These are measurable characteristics that describe the physical state of something, including mass, magnetism, temperature, density, shape, volume, and conductivity. Physical state is the classification of matter as a solid, liquid, or gas. Volume is how much space something takes up. Magnetism is the property of attraction to a magnet. Relative density is how dense something is compared with a reference material. Solubility is the measurement of the ability of a solid to dissolve in a liquid. Insulator is a material through which heat or electricity does not easily flow. Conductor is a material that allows heat or electrical energy to easily flow through it. And mass is the amount of matter in a substance or an object.